Hey guys, this is Justin back with an engineer's perspective, and today I'm going to address the question whether you should two-blade or not two-blade. And what I'm talking about is on Victorinox Tools. I'm actually going to bring this one in here. Whether or not you should use, ooh, this one is dirty. I think I cut a pizza up with that baby. If you should buy a model that has the main long blade and the little pen blade, or if you should buy one of the models that has just one dedicated blade and something else over there. So I've got lots of both styles and I like both of them, but I personally prefer the single blade method because I like having an extra tool. Now I'm going to talk about why that works for me and why there's situations where I do prefer the two blade system. So first, let's start with what I prefer at the moment, which is the one blade system. I like the one blade system for the most part because instead of having basically a duplicate of tools, two blades, I get a blade that's just great for doing that stuff and something else. So like in this Cadet, I personally really like nail files. I like the nail cleaner. It works as a Phillip driver. I like that. And that's pretty much what I use it for in this tool. In this Evo grip, it's the same sort of setup. You've got your main blade and the nail cleaning tool over there. And in the Pioneer, you've got your main blade and then this awl. And I like having an awl. It's really useful, and we're going to come back to it in a little bit as to why it can work particularly well as kind of a middle between the two styles here. And the reason why this works well for me, though, is that Victorinox's blades are very slicey. They're great blades, but what they don't do well is they don't hold up to abrasion very well. It's softer steel. It doesn't have a lot of fancy alloying elements in it. And what that means is, let's say you use this blade to cut maybe an apple on a cutting board, no big deal. You're not going to notice the difference. But if you use this blade to, say, cut a piece of rope or break down a box, and then you could try to go use it to cut that fine piece of hair or a piece of dead skin off your finger, your blade's going to be quite a bit duller than it once was. And for me, that's a problem. I basically always have a dull blade, or I don't want to cut something that I need cut because I don't want to dull my blade. And what's the point of carrying a knife if you don't want to cut things with it, right? So that's a problem. Well, the thing is I almost always have a secondary blade on me, like this Benchmade bug out, or just a shot out here, this Spyderco Para 3 in crew wear. And so what that means is I'll do my more aggressive cutting that dulls a blade with this higher end steel like S30V or crew wear, and that it holds its edge a lot longer. It doesn't get nearly as bothered by that super abrasive material, and is kind of generally the blade that will take that abuse, and then I will always have a super sharp fine edge on my Victorinox. And I've talked about this in my 3-blade system video. And for that reason, because I always have something like this on me, is I only need the one blade. And that's why I prefer it. And then, I get a free extra tool in a way. So let's talk about the situation where you wouldn't do that, in which I actually prefer the two-blade system. And that's when I don't carry one of these. So if there's a scenario where I'm gonna, let's say, just have one cutting tool on me, then I actually really understand and connect with this two-blade system because I do the same thing. Is what I personally do is I reserve this small blade for the very fine, sharp tasks. This is the one I preserve as my always razor sharp blade. And this bigger one is kind of like my utility blade, use it for anything. And I've gone back and forth as to which one I prefer as my dull blade and my sharp blade. But I find that when I need that super sharp knife, usually it's for a small, fine task. And I like the smaller blade for that fine task. And there's a lot of times where like if I'm actually cutting up a box, like breaking it down versus just opening it, This is too small for that, and I need the bigger blade. So the bigger one is what I use as my beater. Even when it's dull, it'll still cut an apple, so it doesn't really matter a whole heck of a lot. And that's when this really shines, you know. And here's the mechanic that I showed you, and it's the same deal here. And like as a working knife, this can be super useful because you can wreck this blade on stuff if you would like, working on things, cutting hoses and whatever, and get it real beat up, but still preserve that just perfect cutting edge over here. And so, you know, let's say if this is your dedicated carry, one of these things, that's when you might really want to consider one of these two-bladed options. Now, something that's kind of in the middle for me is this Pioneer X, because what I can do is I can get away with a lot of that cutting with this awl. So I'll use this awl to like open up boxes, and a lot of that tape, especially from like Amazon, has fibers in it that will just dull your blade pretty quick, especially this stuff. So I use the awl to, you know, open up packages or do any number of scraping tasks, things like that that would normally wreck your blade, that this takes care of pretty well. Now, you can't get out of all situations. You can't break down a box with this awl. Use awl a couple times there. So it's not perfect, but it's kind of an in-between. You know, there's tools. I have used the file kind of like that awl, where I've used it to open up packages, but it's just kind of annoying. It doesn't work nearly as well, and I'm just ripping it more than anything. So it doesn't work quite as well as the awl does. So that's something that's really nice on the Pioneer X and the other Pioneer models, Farmer, Electrician, whatever, is having that as kind of an in-between of the two. And I really like the Pioneer X, so I oftentimes will go for this over these tools. Let's bring it in because I love this knife also. It's my favorite knife right here. It's the Victorinox Compact, and it's a single blade model. And the combo tool, once again, not as good as the awl in here, but quite a bit better for using as almost like a, you know, package opener than these tools are. So yeah, so if you're gonna do a two blade or not two blade, then for me, that really is gonna come down to what's your level of acceptable sharpness and whether or not you carry an extra knife. If you carry an extra knife, I would personally strongly push you towards one of these single blade options. But if you do not carry an extra knife, then I would push you towards one of these two blade options or something that's kind of in the middle, like these two here. Especially the Pioneer X. This is just a freaking great knife. But I mean, both these are. And you know, when you have a model with scissors also, that can save a lot of use on your blades. So that's another thing to consider. Pioneer X has the scissors as well. So it's got three cutting implements in a way: the knife, the scissors, and the awl. Really slick. But that's how you can decide whether two blade or two blade, being TO blade or TWO blade. So anyways, that's kind of that discussion and how I think about the different Victorinox options in terms of the blades they've got. These are my two favorite of all time. So if that tells you anything, there you go. And yeah, that's all I've got for you. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.